Hey there, thanks for tuning in. This is the Tammy Tine Design YouTube channel. I'm Tammy, and today I have a layout share for you. I'll probably do these a few times a year. I'm not a super prolific scrapbooker. I'm lucky if I finish a layout every week, but I do want to do these whenever I have a stack that builds up, and I think I've got a good one here. This first layout was the first simple formatted page I had scrapbooked in many years. I used to do streamlined layouts like this all the time. If you've been scrapbooking as long as I have, think Stacy Julian and Simple Scrapbooks magazine. I love that magazine. Was very influenced by it, but when the publication stopped, my style turned to more embellishing and mixed media. So I stopped scrapbooking pages like this. This one has just a bit of holographic paper that I inked with some Tim Holtz crushed pistachio oxide ink. I wanted to embellish with hearts, so I used the same ink on the heart die cuts and then added a few rhinestones. The title is stamped directly on the cardstock background, and to bring in some texture, I added a bit of string. I love how this turned out. For simplified layouts, I like to keep the focus on the photo and the journaling, so the design and embellishments are there to support the story. This story is about how my husband and I fell in love while a global pandemic raged around us. The next layout is the one that was for real. The story here is that we were sitting outside a brewery in early summer of 2020, so during COVID, and the warnings on everyone's phone started going off. I look up and see a twister off in the distance, so the warnings were for real. I had never been that close to a tornado before. Thank goodness for camera phones because I was able to snap these photos quickly. We could see it, but it wasn't really that close to where we were, and we could tell it was moving north and not in our direction, so we were safe where we were. This is an enhanced layout that's typical for the style I love, which includes embellishments and mixed media. I found a pattern paper that has some gray leaves, which was the whole inspiration for the embellishments. You can't see it in the photos, but when a tornado is spinning, there is debris flying around with it. I made my own leaf cut file and cut the leaves in white cardstock and used several different colors of distress ink to color each one. I have them coming into the layout at a diagonal, flying across the page like they would if they were caught up in the twister. My journaling is on the tag behind the photos, and I added some acrylic embellishments around the leaves to look like raindrops. And I also added some splatters with mica stain to add to the look of more raindrops. I love how this one turned out, and it was really fun to create. Here is another enhanced embellished page. They are my favorite to design and create. I used a Simple Stories collection to showcase this photo of our first Thanksgiving together in 2020 when we were engaged. My husband's job is in hospitality, and there is no such thing as every holiday off. He had to go to work on Thursday afternoon, so we made our Thanksgiving feast on Wednesday. This one has a lot of things going on. We've got a torn edge, some hand stitching, a mixed media piece behind the photo, lots of die cuts, gems, word blocks, and I even typed my journaling on labels. For the mixed media piece behind the photo, I used some Nouveau embellishment mousse. It's a gorgeous color and it looks amazing against navy cardstock. I really just wanted to experiment with the embellishment mousse and see what it looked like, but it turned out so good that I really wanted to use that piece on the page. The color that I used here is called burnished bronze. I added lots of die cuts and gems all around. I printed my journaling directly onto my large labels and cut them with my silhouette. I also made some word blocks and added them to each of the embellishment clusters around the page. There's also a row of hand stitching and lots of gems in orange and pink to finish this one off. I'm going to say this probably on every layout, but I love how this one turned out. This page documents our first Christmas together. We live in Central Florida. After so many months of lockdown and being stuck at home, we really wanted to be out and about again. The Gaylord Palms was not having the annual ice festival because of COVID, but they did bring in something called I Love Christmas Movies. It sounded super fun. Go tour movie sets from all of your favorite holiday movies like Elf, A Christmas Story, National Lampoons, and so on. We went and it was kind of a flop. Some of the sets were really cool, but the others were just not awesome. But we were just happy to be out and about and doing something festive. This page is all about the large die cut I made for the background. I created this one myself and cut it with my Cameo 4. I added buttons to the center of all of the poinsettias. I can't even remember the last time I put buttons on a layout. I did cut the floral paper in the background with the same cut file to get the centerpiece because I just do not enjoy fussy cutting. I'd rather have the Cameo do the work. I added lots of sequins and brads to this one. It also has a hand-stitched frame, and I distressed the outside edge to add texture. If this design looks familiar, it was inspired by Janet at RTS Scrapbooking. She shared this design. I think she called it stacked firewood or something, but I thought it looked so fun, I just had to borrow it. Back in 2019, I guess it was, after being single for far too long, I got my act together and got down to the business of online dating. It was quite the journey. I have a lot of photos like this from that time because I needed them for a dating profile. I was always changing up the photos because it was hard to tell which ones would get attention. So this layout tells the story of how I learned that it wasn't just about having nice photos, but that the energy you showed up in when you took the photo was even more important than the photo itself. So energy is everything. That was a big light bulb moment for me and so worth documenting. Anyone else still have a stash of jelly bean soup journaling cards? It made me happy to work a few into this layout along with some Vicky Bouton flowers from the Sugar Rush collection. I also worked in a few puffy stickers, words, and a little ribbon. The next layout celebrates my birthday in 2020. I used the Arcadia paper pad from Die Cuts with a View. COVID was still around at this time, and we were not very comfortable sitting anywhere inside. But we found a restaurant that was mostly empty, and we were happy to take our masks off, sit at the bar, and enjoy lunch by ourselves. My embellishments are all hearts, and I added hand stitching to attach them to the page. I also added some enamel hearts and some puffy hearts. This page features 3 layers of torn paper on the top and the bottom, and then I lined up my photos in the middle. This word celebrate came from a Thickers collection, and it was yellow gold. The color was not what I wanted for this layout, so I took a rose gold ink pad from scrapbook.com and inked over the top, and I love how it turned out. It was perfect. Don't forget about modifying your supplies if you need to. And I used to tear edges all the time. It's so weird how trends go and then come back around again because I find myself tearing edges all the time now, and I love how it looks. Moving on to fresh flowers. For this one, I dipped into my stash and pulled out a pink paisley black plastic alphabet that I've had forever. Don't you love it when you finally have the right design to pull that thing that you've had forever? Man, it makes me so happy. I popped my photos up on foam tape and used a label I made myself and printed for the journaling. My feeling is you can never have enough labels. I used the Simple Stories Spring Farmhouse collection for this one. These 2 strips came from branding strips. I just wanted a little more pattern going on, and these little strips were perfect. I used an Allison Davis layout as my inspiration and added the 2x2 cut apart sheet and hand stitched around all of the blocks. I added flowers from the ephemera pack, which were perfect to showcase these two vases of flowers that Michael gave me when we were first dating. The rest of the layouts here in my stack all have process videos, so you can go back in my library and watch any of them if you're interested. This is another simplified page. I'm creating these more often. My goal for this page was to be able to tell more stories. And as I've said before, simplified pages for me are all about the photo and the story. I had 3 photos with me and my friend Jamie, and I didn't want to create a single layout for each photo. When I have a streamlined page like this, it doesn't mean I'm leaving out pattern paper. I really liked this bold striped paper from Photoplay, and this 3/4 inch strip is just enough on the bottom to add some color and to balance out everything going on above. I added 3 small black flower embellishments. Black is a grounding color, so I wanted these to help ground this strip of paper to the background. This is an easy go-to design that you can put together quickly. This is one of my very favorite layouts. I absolutely love my little butterflies, and I'm so happy with how they turned out. This pattern paper is also gorgeous. It's from the coffee collection from Echo Park. I wanted to come up with a design that not only helped me stack these fun butterflies, but also put a big chunk of pattern paper on display. This is another selfie I took when I was cycling photos through my dating profile. The title expresses where I was at in my life at the time, and I didn't need to do any journaling. I also picked butterflies for this one because they represent transformation. I made these butterflies for this page, and I love how they turned out. Included with the file are 4 butterfly styles, each with the background and the outline. I love the red velvet ribbon that covers the seam. I also created this title, and it's a free download in my shop if you're interested. This is a fun layout, and there are so many details on this one. This is an enhanced page with lots of mixed media elements. I created a couple of snowflake files for this one, along with the title, Let It Snow Somewhere Else. My husband and I live in Florida, and we were at the Magic Kingdom in December watching a Christmas parade, feeling so grateful that we live somewhere without cold and snow. We both grew up with snow, so we know exactly what it's like. But this is a holiday page, so I wanted to add snowflakes because my paper had snowflakes. I used my snowflake cluster to add inking in the background. Then I added a snowflake border as an embellishment that I added some Tim Holtz rock candy glitter to. I'm not sure if the camera really picks that up or not, but there is glitter on there because snowflakes need glitter. This one has pattern paper layers in the background. I distressed the edge of that blue paper and pushed everything to the bottom right so that you'd see more of the pattern papers. I added my journaling to the tag behind my photo. I absolutely love how this one turned out. There, I said it again. This is my first 2-page layout of this batch. I don't create a ton of 2-page layouts. It may sound strange, but I don't always take a ton of photos at every outing, so I don't need to do double-page spreads all the time. But when I do create them, I always love them. I will be sprinkling in 2-page layouts because I know a lot of people are creating them and are always looking for that inspiration. I created my own cut files to embellish this page, just some simple stars with circles around them. They were perfect cluster bases. I also made some word blocks with Tampa words as I didn't really have much in the way of football embellishments to add. This football page is all about my first NFL game. We have season tickets to the Bucks, and this was in 2020 when the stadium was at 25% capacity and there were no lines and no one was around us because of COVID. I did add 5 different pattern papers to this layout, and I love how the journaling is split up by that long title. I also managed to add the only two football embellishments that I could find in my stash. I suppose that means I'll have to buy some more football stuff as I have more football photos to scrapbook. Oh, and for another stash buster, I still have a bunch of Studio Calico wood veneer stars, and I sprinkled some around each one of the clusters. Here's another enhanced page. I created the flower cut files for this layout inspired by the flowers in the pattern paper. I didn't have the embellishment pack from this collection, and I only had that one pattern paper, so I needed something. I added a fun watercolor wash to my white die cuts with Tim Holtz crayons. I'm on a mission this year to dress up die cuts. I love using my Cameo 4, but plain die cuts are not always that interesting. Customizing is fun, and I love to add colors to coordinate with my layouts. I also made some word blocks to add to each cluster. I was really happy to dig into my stash and find some October afternoon, Saturday morning stickers and the ephemera pack. They coordinated perfectly with this layout, and I love that I had a pancake sticker to add. This story is special to us because it's the first tradition my husband and I started together. During lockdown, he made me pancakes on the weekends, and we took turns coming up with different flavors to add to the mix. We actually made pancakes the other day and had our favorite, which is apple cheddar. So we carry on this tradition to this day. Here's another 2-page layout. I don't mind telling you that I stayed on the struggle bus with this layout for quite a while. I did create a process video for this one, but I didn't turn on the camera until I figured out how to fix all the problems I created and encountered. So I took everyone on the journey with me, getting this layout back on track. And I'm happy that I stuck with it and got past all the issues I didn't like. These pictures are from my birthday in 2021 when we went to Blue Springs State Park to see the manatees. The manatees come into the spring in the winter because the spring water stays warm. When I design 2-page layouts, I try to bring whatever is on one page over to the other and vice versa. This floral pattern paper is on both sides. The strips of paper are on both sides. The border die cut that I created on the bottom is on both sides, as are the other papers. I also added some word blocks and tags from my Getaway Essentials collection. I didn't design that collection for this layout, but some of the colors worked perfectly. I cut out some elements from the pattern papers in the Arcadia collection. This layout is from the same day as this other layout I've already shared, Celebrate, where I used the same collection. These layouts will go near each other in the same album, so it's fun to have that continuity. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I added my Thickers title directly to the photos, which was a fun element. I like how the title pops against the photo. I added a strip of dark blue paper to help bring attention to the rest of the title. And I also really love the colors in this collection. And here is my final page for this layout share. This is another simplified page, so not a lot of embellishment or technique here. This page celebrates my husband's love of craft beer. I was super excited to be able to use the beer blueprint stamps from Tim Holtz. I'm sure I'll use them again because we go to lots of breweries. I created a mini essentials collection of word blocks and tags all about craft beer that I used on this layout. I also created a wine set, so if you like wine, check that out if you're interested. I tend not to have a lot of pattern paper on my simplified pages, but in adding the bolder colors and putting the papers at an angle, it really helped draw attention to the photo and the story. This is the first selfie my husband ever sent me when we were dating. This is a special picture to me, so I wanted a simplified design for this one because within that format, I try to keep the focus on the photo and the story. There isn't much embellishing. I knew I wanted to add the fussy cut stamped images. I added in the circle backgrounds to help them stand out on the white background. My word blocks and tags create a visual triangle of black on this page. I also inked an outline around my frame, and there's one phrase sticker that says, "Do what you love," which goes back to the subject of the photo. Only 2 different pattern papers on this one. I did distress the edges of the paper, the frame, and the circles behind the stamped images, but I didn't want the paper layers to be super dimensional. This photo is up on foam tape though. And let me mention that as I was filming this layout share, I realized I forgot to add enamel dots. As soon as I turn the camera off, I'm going to fix that. And if you watch the process video, you'll see them in the close-ups at the end. And that is it for my very first layout share. If you just found my channel, please consider liking and subscribing, as that lets YouTube know that people like my content, so YouTube will share it with more people. It will also help my channel grow. Thank you so much for stopping by today. See you next time.